Okay, so you're not happy with needing a lot of adjustment on your rear sight to get your shots where they want to hit. You don't know how to really adjust your front sight to compensate for that. Well, the first thing you have to do is center your rear sight windage on the zero, the line on the receiver, center it up. This particular rifle, I don't know if you can see it or not, but I'm pretty far over. I'm almost all the way to the left, but I don't mind that so much. I rather have my rear sight moved than looking at my front sight that has to be moved more left or right from center. I'd rather be looking at a centered sight. I just feel better that way. I like looking down the rifle, seeing my front sight assembly closer to the center. So I don't mind adjusting a lot on this side. That's why they give you so much windage adjustment down here. Anyway, the easiest way to do it is 25 yards. This is a Garand sight-in target. You can use this particular one from 1,000 inches or 27 yards out to 100 yards. They give you all the different specs, for the size of the aim in black and the outline and everything in this block here. To keep things simple, 25 yards, 1/4 inch. It makes things really simple. The sight radius on an M1 Garand is 28 inches. That's how you're going to figure out your correction. You need to know your sight radius, how much correction you need, and at what distance you're shooting at. 25 yards. 25 yards is 900 inches. Now your correction calculations are always going to be in inches. Now the next thing you need to do is to loosen the Allen key. I believe it's 3/16, and center this sight the best you can. So now your front sight, just do it by eye. It doesn't have to be perfect. Do it by eye, center it up the best you can, retighten it. Make sure you tighten it. Center your rear windage. Then come up 8 clicks from the bottom. So you want to bottom it out, then come up 8 clicks. That's where you want to start. We're doing windage, not elevation. And then I will always tell you to make some sort of easy way to make a reference mark so you can see your movements. You can use a dial caliper and measure it. It's all fine and dandy. I make a few marks. You're making small movements. So the finer marks you can make, the better. I don't go too crazy. I just make a reference mark so I can see movement. I can tell, you can't really see the pencil mark here. And another thing to do too is make sure you clean the metal really good before you try sticking anything on there, because if you don't, it's not going to stick, and after 2 or 3 shots it'll fall off. Sometimes I'll just mark the metal itself with a pencil. I can't see as well as I used to, so now I use tape. And I still do that even though I'll use the cheap calipers to measure my movement. So let's start right from the beginning. You zero or center your front sight the best you can. Just look at it. I mean, that one's pretty close. You can see the little ledge on this side, a little ledge on that side. Okay. And then center your rear sight. Make sure your front sight is tight. Now place a target at 25 yards. I personally draw a 2-inch dot on a piece of paper. I'm only using this because this is what I have. You can use 1/4-inch graph paper, draw a 2-inch dot. This makes it real easy. You just put your front sight right up on that flat line. So it just makes it really easy to aim. Remember, we're not trying to get elevation or zero your ammo and for the conditions. We're trying to get a baseline zero or no wind 0, mechanical 0, within close enough specs where you can now zero your windage and elevation to you, for you, and your ammo on the rear sight. So what you're going to do, put this at 25 yards. Then take 5 shots. Now specs say an M1 Garand is worthy to leave the factory if you could put 5 consecutive shots within a 1.7 inch group at 1,000 inches or 27 yards. So just say you take your shots and you're hitting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just say your shots look something like that. What you want to do is find the rough center of that shot. We're just going to call that right here. That's your center of that group. You want to move it to the center line here. Okay? Now, if you're at 25 yards using 25 or 1/4 inch graph paper, each one of these squares is roughly a 1/4 inch. This is a 1,000-yard target. 30-yard target on here. You can see down. It's hard to see, but plus the sun's to my back, I can't see my screen. But 30-yard target. The aiming black is a little over 2 inches, and each square is 0.3 inches. But you can always pick up an inexpensive set of calipers. 15 to 30 bucks is all you really need for this kind of stuff. It's just close enough, good enough. So we need 1.775 inches of correction. All right. So 1.775 inches. So how that works out, change the camera angle a little bit here. I've been working around the yard, so I got all kinds of other tools kicking around. All right. Sorry, I gotta move again. Alright, so this is where your sight radius and your distance to your target in inches come into play. Your sight radius is 28 inches times your correction, 1.775. Which is 49.7. Now you need to divide the 49.7 by your 25 yards or 900 inches. Which means you have to move, or your correction is going to be 0.0552 inches. So you have to move your front sight. Here's your rear sight. I don't know if this is going to show up well. I can't see the screen. Here's your rear sight. Here's your front sight. Here's your center line. You're off to the right. You need to drift your front sight to the impacts. And so now what you're doing, here's your sights lined up as it is. When you move that sight, now you have to pull that sight back into alignment. So you're moving the shot group over. So you move your sight over 0.0552 inches. Again, get your calipers out. .055. I don't know if you can see that good enough, but that's how far you need to move your front sight. And the front sight is opposite. If you need to move your impacts to the left, you need to move your front sight to the right. If you want to move your impacts up, your front sight has to come down. If you want to raise your impact, sorry, I just got distracted by a bee. Anyway, your front sight's opposite. If you move it left, your impacts will move right. If you move it right, your impacts will move left. So front is opposite, rear is the same. So if I had to move my front sight to get this shot group on, it'd be 0.0552, which would be pretty, I don't know if I can get this in there, good enough, which would be pretty close to the edge. So that sight would be sitting flush with the edge. Now, when they were making the M1 Garands, they allowed for a little bit of overhang on the front sight, because they would do this at the factory. They would shoot the gun and they would get it so it impacts somewhere in this heavy outlined area. As long as it hit there, as long as your 5-shot group was in that thick outlined area there, this section here, it was good to ship from the factory, because now with the rear sight you have plenty of adjustment to get a personal zero, or the zero for the soldier it was issued to, and anybody else who picks up the rifle. But it's good to have a solid mechanical zero where you can get a good baseline from. Now, anytime you change ammo, lighting conditions, the way you hold the gun, clothes you wear, it'll change your point of impact a little bit, some more than other. I have days, really bright days, a lot of just bright light and glare. I'm talking several minutes for me. Different positions. For me, with the M1, going from prone to sitting is an easy 3-minute of an angle change. It's just because of the way I sit behind the rifle. I can't get a good snug tight position sitting with the Garand. So my position changes, my eye position changes, how much I'm looking through the peep changes. I'm not as close to the peep as I am when I'm shooting prone. It all plays into it, but this will all get you close enough. Your whole point of zeroing with the front sight is to get your group as close to center as possible. And then just leave it alone. Let's use your rear sight to zero. Now, if you find yourself still way over in one direction with the front sight and still extreme direction on your rear windage, you got other problems. My advice, if you can get it to zero and shoot well, leave it alone. If it's still way off center and you cannot get it anywhere near the X-ring, then it's time to look into why.